Hello Year 2, it's Miss Addy. Our learning question for maths today asks us, can I sort 3D shapes? Our steps to success say, I can describe the properties of 3D shapes. I can sort shapes by criterion using a Venn diagram, and I can explain my reasoning for where I have placed a shape. Our first star word is 3D shape. We've been exploring 3D shapes all of this week. Our second star word is Venn diagram. There was a bit of a clue in the steps to success. You may have already heard of Venn diagrams and you may already know how to use them. And our other star words are faces, edges, and vertices. These are the properties of 3D shape, which we have been learning about all of this week. All of this week, we've been learning about the properties of 3D shapes. Last week, we learnt about the properties of 2D shapes. 2D shapes have sides and vertices. Now, can you remember the properties of 3D shapes? They're slightly different. Here we have a cuboid. We're very quickly going to have a look at the properties of this cuboid. First, we have the face. So 3D shapes have faces. Can you remember what faces are? This is the surface of the 3D shape. So faces can sometimes be flat or sometimes they can be curved. Some shapes have curved and flat faces. 3D shapes also have vertices. They have a vertex if it's just one. And this is the corner of the 3D shape. This is where edges meet. So we can use our finger to point to the vertices on 3D shapes. 3D shapes also have edges. This is where two faces meet on a 3D shape. Now we can use our finger again to run our finger along the line of an edge. And edges can sometimes be straight, just like on this cuboid, but sometimes they can also be curved. Here are some words we've been learning about this week, and these words are used to describe the properties of 3D shape. We have the word curved and straight, round and solid, because we know that 3D shapes are solid shapes. We also have the words vertices, face and edge, and these are the properties we use to describe 3D shapes. You might know some of these 3D shapes. We've had a look very closely at some of these 3D shapes. Can you spot them? But there are also lots of other 3D shapes which we haven't explored this week. Pause the video quickly and have a look at the other 3D shapes that you may be less familiar with. Let's very quickly remind ourselves about the properties of these 3D shapes. So we have a cube, a sphere, a cylinder, a square-based pyramid, and a cone. Pause the video and see if you can remember the number of faces, vertices, and edges on one of these shapes, or more if you really want to challenge yourself. And here is the answers. Well done if you got some of them correct. Now today we are exploring Venn diagrams and using Venn diagrams to help us sort 3D shapes. Now you might already have heard of Venn diagrams, and that's because we learnt about them last week, and we were using Venn diagrams last week to help us sort out 2D shape. So just to remind ourselves, a Venn diagram shows the relationship between a group of different things. We can call these a set or a category. And this is done in a visual way, so using pictures and things to help us understand. Using Venn diagrams allows us to sort data into 2 or 3 circles, and these circles overlap in the middle. That means they go on top of each other. Venn diagrams help us to sort objects into categories. So here is a Venn diagram. It's a blank Venn diagram, but you can see the 2 circles overlapping. So objects in this circle belong to this category, and objects in this circle belong to a different category, and objects in the middle part where it overlaps, they belong to both categories. So we had a look last week at some Venn diagrams using things that we already know about. So here are some animals, and we sorted these animals into categories. We had land animals and water animals, and we sorted them, and eventually our Venn diagram looked like this. So we can see the land animals in one circle, the water animals in another circle, and in the middle part we can see animals that are both land animals and water animals. We then had another go at looking at a Venn diagram using numbers. So we've got numbers in the 5 times table in one category, and in another category we've got odd numbers, and we sorted them out, and this is what it looked like when we organised our Venn diagram. We can see in one circle we've got numbers in the 5 times table, in the other circle we have odd numbers, and in the middle circle we have numbers that are both numbers in the 5 times table and odd numbers. And anything on the outside, so not in the Venn diagram, it didn't belong in any category. We then had a go at organising 2D shapes into a Venn diagram. So we had our categories, we had quadrilaterals and pink shapes, and we organised them, and this is what it looked like. So you can see quadrilaterals in one part of the Venn diagram, and in another part of the Venn diagram you can see pink shapes. Now in the middle part we've got shapes that are quadrilaterals and pink shapes, but these shapes on the outside didn't belong to any group. So today we're going to create a Venn diagram using the properties of 3D shapes, because that's what we've been learning about this week. So first we need to label our categories. The first circle in our Venn diagram will be for shapes that have a curved face. The second circle of the Venn diagram will be for shapes that have one or more edges, and the middle part of the Venn diagram will be for the shapes that have both a curved face and one or more edges. So here are the shapes that we're going to be sorting into the Venn diagram. Have a look at the first shape. The first shape is a cube. Where do you think the cube needs to be placed? Does the cube have a curved face? No, it doesn't have a curved face. They have flat faces. But does the cube have one or more edges? Yes, it has many edges. So the cube needs to be placed over here. Let's look at the second shape. What is the second shape called? It's a sphere. Where do you think the sphere needs to be placed? Does the sphere have one or more edges? No, a sphere has 0 edges. Does it have a curved face? Yes, it does. Now let's have a look at the cone. Does the cone have a curved face? Yes, the cone has one flat face and one curved face, so it does belong in this part of the Venn diagram. But does it have one or more edges? Yes, it also has one curved edge. So where do you think the cone needs to be placed? The cone needs to be placed in the middle part of the Venn diagram, and that's because the cone comes under both of those categories. It has a curved face, but it also has one or more edges. Let's have a look at the next shape. We have a square-based pyramid. Does the square-based pyramid have a curved face? No, it only has flat faces. But does it have one or more edges? Yes, it has many edges. So this is where the square-based pyramid needs to be placed. Let's have a look at the cuboid. Where do you think the cuboid should be placed? Well done if you got it correct. The cuboid does not have a curved face, but it does have one or more edges. Let's have a look at the next shape, a cylinder. Now, does the cylinder have a curved face? Yes, it has 2 flat faces, but it has one curved face going across the center. Does it have one or more edges? Yes, it has 2 edges. So where do you think the cylinder needs to be placed? Great work. It does need to be placed in the middle because it has a curved face and it has more than one edge. Now the last shape is a triangular-based pyramid. Where do you think that needs to be placed? Well done if you got it correct. The triangular-based pyramid does not have a curved face, so we can't put it in that part of the Venn diagram. But it does have one or more edges. So now we've completed our Venn diagram, all about properties of 3D shapes. So your task for today, Year 2, is to complete this Venn diagram. You need to sort the 3D shapes into the correct part of the Venn diagram. So let's have a look at our categories. We've got one part of our Venn diagram that says shapes with 4 or more faces. And the other part of the Venn diagram, it says bread shapes. So here is a picture of all of the different 3D shapes, and you need to sort them into the correct part of the Venn diagram. And your own challenge is to create your own 3D shape Venn diagram, but this time thinking of your own categories to use, so some different categories. I hope you enjoy your task for today, Year 2. Goodbye.